Today's our guest is Dr. Rakesh Tripathi, sir. He is from NIT Raipur. I will first give some little bit introduction of our today's guest. Dr. Rakesh Tripathi, sir. He is a assistant professor in Information Technology Department. His area of interest is performance analysis and communication networks. He has published a lot of papers in international conferences and journals. Now I will request to our guest. I will hand over to Rakesh Tripathi, sir. Sir, you can proceed.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So slides are visible.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
Wait a second. Now it is visible.
Sir, wait. No, it's right now. No, not visible.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Now it's visible, sir. Visible.
It will take some time. Yeah, it's visible now, sir.
Now it is visible.
Yeah, it's visible, sir. No problem. Not an issue.
And it is with the width and this one is okay. I need to do full screen or it is okay. Size is okay. It is visible. Text are visible.
Yes.
Sir, it's better if you are the full screen.
Okay, I can do full screen. The only issue is like
Yes.
if I want to write, then it is a problem for me. Then
Okay.
let's
Okay,
see.
no problem, sir.
We'll
No problem.
continue. If there's any issue, then I will switch to full screen mode. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. No problem.
So good morning. I am Rakesh, and I would like to thank Madam for having me here as a speaker in second day in your Atal program. So my topic of this one presentation will be cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and these are the things that I shall be covering, like what is money, what is cryptocurrency, and how we design any cryptocurrency, and what is Bitcoin, how Bitcoin was designed. So if you see the dictionary definition of money is something that is generally accepted as a medium of exchange, and it is a measure of value or a mean of a payment. So what happens, we have basically three types of money. So one is commodity, then we have representative, then we have a fiat money. So what is commodity money? Commodity money is like we have a classical money we would have heard of, like gold, silver, spices, and so the value is in the commodity itself. The value comes from the commodity it is made up of. And then came the idea of representative money, which was backed by government. And representative money, the notes will be printed against certain metal. Like once you have a fixed value of gold, then against that gold you can print money. So it was in 1970s. But later on, government realized that it is very difficult to mine gold or expensive metal and then print money. So they said that for the growing economy, we should have a fiat currency. So what we use today, these days, are the legal tender, or these are the physical money, the rupee note we see in our hand. That is called fiat currency. So this is the commodity money. Earlier we have kauri in India, and rice, it was a store of a value. So if I have to purchase any apple, then you fix for 1 kg of apple, I have to give 1 kg of rice. Then rice was a store of a value. That rice was a medium of exchange. Okay, but the problem with them was it was perishable. And then we have a commodity money like gold coin, silver coin, and spices. Then we get this representative money was gold bond kind of thing, or this one you have plastic money you have these days. So these are all just introduction that what is money, and then we'll come on to cryptocurrency. What is cryptocurrency? So these are all different form of money we have. So you have in a digital form, you have these cards are there. You don't actually hold money, but this is again a form of a medium of payment, plastic money. Am I right? Now these are the fiat currency which I have talked about. So if you see, so these are all rupee note. These are all fiat currency, and so we have a commodity money is all these are commodity money, and then we have a representative money, and then we have a fiat currency. So for representative money, you have government against certain gold reserve, you issue a certificate is issued. So that is backed by certain expensive metal, representative money. But now these days we have a fiat currency. So fiat currency government is printing, RBI, like in India, RBI prints money, give it to us, and we trust RBI, so we trust money, and it is a legal tender, and it is a medium of exchange in India. So summary, fiat money is a physical money backed by a government, and it is considered to be legal tender. And before that, representative money was used. Now we see current transaction system. We'll see what is the current transaction system, how it works. So in current transaction system, you see if you are a customer, then you are a customer, and if you want to make a payment, you do online purchase with a merchant, then what you do is like you give a pay now request, and then the payment request comes from merchant side to payment app. Then you are directed to a payment gateway, and there payment gateway authorize you, like you are the actual one who is spending, and then you click OK. Then this payment response goes back to merchant. Payment app comes from the merchant to payment app, and then you get an optional message. This is the way actually online transaction works these days. Am I right? So in bank, how things are working? So whenever there is a transaction from A to B, and then so for example, 2 Bitcoin we are transferring from A account to B account. Then what will happen? A is having balance 2 and B is having balance 7. So after transaction is done, its balance will be 0 and its balance will be 9. So this is the way actually these days your bank works. Am I right? So there is a central ledger which bank is holding, and he update all your account information. Now, what is the problem? Why actually cryptocurrency was actually Bitcoin was designed? Because of the failure of this financial system, like banking system in 2008. So what is the problem with your banking system? The problem with our banking system is this. So our bank is the one who is holding the ledger. So whatever transaction we are making, all our information is with bank. Am I right? Nobody else is having any accessibility to that. And what bank can do? Bank can, out of thin air, he can generate a transaction and give a money to Alice. This is what bank does. Am I right? Bank, RBI is printing money. There is no algorithm. And this inflation is coming into the system. How? Say, for example, two people are there in the system. I am having 50 rupee, you are having 50 rupee. So in a financial system, there is a 100 rupee, 50 rupee I am having, 50 rupee you are having. Now government prints 100 rupee. Now the in total system there are 200 rupee. Now without doing anything, your value is 1/4. Earlier your value was half. So this is the reason, like there is inflation in our currency, because bank is printing money without any algorithm. So they decide we have to print money, they print. So if you have a bank means RBI. I'm not talking about SBI. So what can go wrong with any bank? I'm not telling that bank is doing this, but these are the things that can go wrong in current system. This is theoretically I'm talking about. Pragmatically or practically you might have not seen that. So what bank can do? Bank can have Alice, and out of thin air he can assign 100 rupees to Alice. He can change the old transaction. He can make 5125. We don't have any record because all record bank is having. Am I right? So theoretically it is possible. These things can happen. So with centralized solution. So in centralized, what is happening? One entity is recording the data. Okay. And he's having lot of power and responsibility. And he's having full authority to fine you, to give you reward, to decide the interest rate, and they give you reward for having credit card, and you completely trust this entity. But there is a single point of failure. It might behave in a erratic way, or it becomes deceitful. So what it can do many things. It can issue currency out of thin air. It can edit old transaction. It can make new transaction. It can delete your account. So these are all theoretically possible. But why we are still using banking system? Because we are trusting. Because we don't have many case studies that our banking system is involved in these kind of activity. Am I right? What is cryptocurrency? So cryptocurrency is the medium of exchange where cryptography is used to secure our transaction so that all our ledger book are intact. There is an integrity and there is ownership. There is ownership of a currency. You can cryptographically ensure that he is the owner of this currency. And whenever currency is changing hand, you can keep track of that. And that is cryptographically secure. We'll see how actually this security is achieved. So a cryptocurrency, if you see, it is a digital or virtual currency. and that is meant to be a medium of exchange, and it is just like a real world currency, but it does not have any physical embodiment. You cannot hold Bitcoin, you cannot hold Monero, any cryptocurrency in your hand, okay, but it is used as a medium of exchange. You can use this as a virtual currency for online purchase. You can use this. It uses cryptography to work the way it does, and it works in a totally decentralized manner. It does not require any central authority or body to keep track of all transaction, to validate all transaction, to keep a ledger. So something works in cryptocurrency so that there is no need of a central body. So cryptocurrency is a virtual currency that uses cryptography to work the way it works. And there are algorithms based on which new coins are added into the system. So you will find that in Bitcoin there is no inflation. Bitcoin, because in Bitcoin system we'll see that the way the new Bitcoins are minted, there is an algorithm. There is an algorithm for that. Okay. These are the top 10 cryptocurrency based on market cap. So Bitcoin is the leader, and then there are Ethereum, there is XRP, Bitcoin Cash has come from Bitcoin only. And then we have Litecoin, okay, and there's Monero, there is Zcash, there are many. So based on this, top 10 is this. Now Bitcoin, if you see, Bitcoin was created way back in 2008, and we'll see complete discussion on Bitcoin, like all its science of like how Bitcoin works and how the new coins are minted, how transaction takes place. We'll see that. So any digital money without central authority, you have to make sure three things. See now, because there is no bank, so what bank was doing in your transaction? He was having a ledger. So whenever you are making any transaction, he is recording that transaction. He verifies that transaction, that you have sufficient fund. So if Alice is sending $10 to Bob, then bank verifies that Alice is having $10, 10 rupees. Am I right? And then he verifies your transaction and he records your transaction. Am I right? He logs your transaction. Now there is no central body who is recording all these things. So now you have to keep, so a digital money should work on, it should be resistant to counterfeit. Means in your cryptocurrency system, in your digital money system, it should not be easy to generate new money, false money, counterfeit money, fake currency. And there should be controlled supply of money. See what will happen if there's only lot of monies are there, like it happened in Venezuela, Zimbabwe. If we have bags of money, then what will happen? Then it will lose its value. So the currency, the digital money should have controlled supply, and it should be secure. The currency, it should be secure to establish the ownership of a coin. Okay, he is the one who owns 100 coin. You should be able to prove it in a secure way. And here comes the cryptography. And then once money changes hand, then also you should be able to prove it. Yes, this was the money which earlier Alice was having. Now Bob is having it. Now the problem, so the biggest problem with single ledger, single owner, single site can be solved by having a replica of this. So the ledger, what all cryptocurrency does, the first thing they did is that ledger don't keep in one place. You replicate among all stakeholder participants. So it is transparent. Everybody knows what transaction is having, what transactions are going on. And then for security that nobody should know what Rakesh is doing, you replace Rakesh by public key address, public key identity. So three features we expect from our cryptocurrency. The first one is like we use a secure blockchain. So what is blockchain? It's a ledger. It's a distributed ledger. It's a distributed database, and we have a block. In block we write all transaction. We'll see in detail, and all blocks are chained together using hashing technique. We'll see what is that hash pointer. We'll see in design of cryptocurrency. So there's a notion of a blockchain. So a blockchain is a database sort of thing, a data structure where transactions are logged, and this blockchain is distributed among all participants. And there's a notion of wallet. So what is wallet? What is the software that keeps your identity? So whenever I'm making any transaction, I will make transaction through our wallet. So wallet keep track of our private key and public key. Okay. And the third one is miners. So miners are the people who actually write the transaction onto blockchain. Okay. So you have a ledger which is distributed among all participants. So miners are the people who actually write. So there is an algorithm, there is a protocol based on which this algorithm, this miner write actually onto the blockchain. So you can compare between Bitcoin and credit card. So credit card, you can see this. So the advantage, the biggest advantage of cryptocurrency is like you can directly transfer between two party. So two party without any trusted third party, it can happen. A transaction between two party can directly take place. Okay, and it is secure, and you can see your log and your ledger information. Okay, and you don't rely on third party. And we have seen what are the drawback of your banking system. Okay, all fines, all interest, all benefit that bank is giving you. So you don't have to rely on that central body who is having lot of power, and he can do. He will take your money, he will give money on loan, and then he will declare NPA. Am I right? Non-performing asset. This is what it is happening. It happened in 2008 in America. The biggest bank collapsed because lot of real estate they have given loan and they could not recover. So these are the things that can happen with bank, but it cannot happen in cryptocurrency. And the problem with cryptocurrency, what people think is like, because cryptocurrency gives you pseudo-anonymity. Pseudo-anonymity means, or semi-anonymity. Anonymity means if you are involved in a transaction in cryptocurrency, then my actual identity won't go. So I will create one physical, I will be known to outside world by one alphanumeric 34 character or 25 character alphanumeric letter. And then that is my identity. I can create n number of those identity, and there is no relation between those ID. So it will say, okay, from this ID, this money is transaction took place. But that ID and this one, there is no need for myself to map it. For example, in SBI, all account number is linked to your KYC. Am I know your customer? Am I right? Earlier you have an account number is mapped to your know your customer. So this account number belongs to myself, Rakesh Tripathi. This is my address, this is my PAN card. So this is linking. In cryptocurrency, there is no such linking. So there is an ID, there will be a public key address is my ID. I will tell you how that ID is generated, and that is only my identity. So there is a pseudo-anonymous nature is there. Okay, but why it is not purely anonymous? Because if it is anonymous, then it has to be random. Still, if you see my ID, you can profile, okay, for this physical public key address, what are the transactions he was involved in. Even though you don't know my ID, that Rakesh ID is this public key, but you can still know what transaction this public key was involved in. That is why it is semi-anonymous, pseudo-anonymous. Okay. So pseudo-anonymity will lead you to all illegal activity like money laundering, tax evasion, or all black marketing you can use cryptocurrency for. People think that, but it has, and also sometimes people think that for any, it gives you protection against whistleblower, against repressive government. So these are pros and cons. But the thing is like, and the biggest drawback with cryptocurrency is like cryptocurrency, the value depends upon demand and supply. It varies a lot. For example, Bitcoin, if you see, I will show you the Bitcoin price varies from $7,000 to $19,000 in a month. It can vary so much. Okay. So cryptocurrency, many experts, economists, they feel like that it will vanish. It is a short-lived fat bubble and it will vanish. But the idea is the Bitcoin is based upon a blockchain framework. That blockchain framework is going to be there for sure. I'm working on blockchain since last 3 years. So I'm having 2 research scholars. He's working on blockchain. So blockchain, we use blockchain for ownership establishment, for transfer of trading, audit trading of the asset transfer. We can do using blockchain. So people are using blockchain in 5G, IoT, Internet of Drone, everywhere people are using blockchain. So even if Bitcoin goes away, crypto, I'm not telling that it will go, but sometimes people lose interest. There are reasons for that. So blockchain is going to survive. So as I've told you that you have a transaction you flood among all. So a same copy of a transaction is with everyone. It is with everyone. Now we will design a cryptocurrency. Before designing a cryptocurrency, we will see certain background. So there's a notion of hash pointer. So hash pointer, we know pointer in our C++, pointer stores address of any location, information. Okay. So hash pointer are a special type of data structure that apart from holding the address of information, it also holds the hash of that information. And why it helps? So it helps you, apart from getting the information stored at any location, it also verifies whether it has been changed or not. It looks like this way. So hash pointer in a book. So most of this slide has come from a book called this Bitcoin cryptocurrency technology. This book, it comes free of cost also. I have purchased from my CPTA. It costs somewhere around 4,500. So these slides, most of the slides which I am using here has come from this book. So hash pointer, they are special type of data structure. Apart from holding location of information, it also stores the hash of the data. What is hash? So hash, you might have studied your cryptography. So hash are the function that if I give a variable length message, it gives you fixed length distal footprint. Am I right? So you can give a variable length message and it gives you. So if I use SHA-256, so SHA-256 is a hashing algorithm that takes variable length message and produces fixed length output 256 bit. And it is hashing. SHA-256 is collision resistant. Why collision resistant? Because it is very difficult to find two messages that give same hash. So what we are doing here? So hash pointer looks like this way. So hash pointer, apart from holding the location where information is stored, it also stores the hash of this information, so that later on if this gets modified, he will get to know. Okay. Okay. Now we can build a data structure using hash pointer. The first data structure that we can build is blockchain. So what is blockchain? This is simply a linked list. And in linked list, what happens? There are nodes, and every node there is a data and there is a pointer. Now this pointer, apart from holding address of previous node, it also holds its hash value. So it also holds hash of this data plus previous, and it stores here. So apart from holding address of previous node, it also holds its hash of this one. And this data structure can be used for tamper evidence. Why tamper evidence? See, what is tampering? Logging. Tamper evident log. What is log? So log is a data structure where we record all transactions. So all transaction is recorded in a data structure. You append it, and after storing it, later on, if you want to verify that something has changed or not, you can verify. For example, it is tamper evident log. This blockchain is tamper evident. How? So if this is the data, if I modify some data here, then what happened? This hash won't match. So there will be inconsistency. Then in order to make consistent, I have to change this hash. Am I right? Once I have changed this hash, then this hash won't match. There will be inconsistency. Then I have to change this hash. If I change this hash, then I have to change this. But I cannot change this. Why? What I'm telling. We can use blockchain as a tamper evident log, because if I remember the head of the pointer, head of the node, what is the hash value? If I remember this only and someone changes this, then it will be caught. It is tamper evident. So a blockchain. So what is a blockchain? Blockchain is a linked list where pointer we use is hash pointer. Where there are nodes, in nodes we have a data, and in pointer we have a hash pointer. What are hash pointer? Hash pointer are a special type of data structure which, apart from holding the location of information, it also stores the hash of the information which is stored in that location. Okay, so that later on, if this data is modified, it will be caught because this hash won't match. Okay, it is called tamper evident log. So blockchain is a perfect data structure to know that. So here comes the integrity. We are getting integrity with this. If I change this, then this has to be changed. If I change this, this has to be changed. But I cannot change this because this is the head of the pointer, head of the node, hash pointer. It is kept secure. Okay, you cannot change this one. Let us take an example. So, for example, if this is 5 and previous hash is 8, then this is 8. Our hash pointer is 8. If data is 5, then 8 plus 5, 13. This is 13. Am I right? Let me change the color. Let us make it red. So this is 15. This is 15. This is 13. This is 13. Am I right? So what is happening? So this is previous hash is 3, means sum of this hash was 3. Data is 5. Now 5 plus 3, simple 5 plus 3 I'm adding. I'm making tamper evident log, an example we are giving. So I have written 8 here, and this is 5. Again, this is 13. and this is again data 2. Now 15. I store 15 here. Now I store 15. If I remember this 15, later on if anyone changes this, so 15 is what I remember. 15 is, okay, I am having a data structure blockchain. 50 is what I remember. If anybody changes this 5 to 6, if he changes this 5 to 6, then what will happen? This will be 6. But what was previous hash? Previous hash was 8. It won't match because now the current new is 9. Current new is 9. So current this is 9. And earlier it was 8. So it has to be changed to 9. Now 9 plus 5, 14. Earlier it was 13. It has to be changed to 14. Now this is 14 to make things consistent. 14 plus 2, 16. But this 15 cannot be changed because this is remembered. This I have remembered. I cannot change this. I cannot change this. Okay. This is not possible. I cannot. So this is temper evident law. If I remember head of the pointer, then temper evident law. Blockchain ledger can be used for temper evidence. Now we can use our hash pointer in a binary tree. So if in our binary tree we use our hash pointer, then it looks like this way. So so these are all the transactions. These are all the transactions we have. I write in leaf and the hash of this transaction so this hash pointer store hash of this and location of this. This hash of this is in this node. So I move up one level and in pairs of this. So this is transaction 1. This is transaction 2, transaction 1, transaction 2, and these are hash. And then whatever is the hash of the root is called the Merkle tree. This is called Merkle tree. It's a binary tree of hash pointer. What is hash pointer? So this is a hash pointer that stores the address of this transaction and hash of this transaction. So address of this transaction and hash of this transaction is stored here. And now we move one level up. So this is the way actually we build our tree of transaction data using hash pointer. Okay. What is the advantage of this kind of storage? Advantage of this kind of storage, if I want to say that in this block, so this is the block of transaction. In this block, my transaction exists. Okay. So if I have to say that my transaction TX2 exists in this block, I don't have to give everything. All these transactions you check it, all transactions you combine together and hash, you get the same Merkle root. I have to give only this transaction information, this transaction A, and I have to give it. Only if I give this much of data to you, then you can verify, yes, I am the one whose transaction is there. I say, see what in a tree, what you remember only hash of the tree. Hash of the tree you remember. Now you are the person who is managing this block of transaction. I come and say, see, my transaction is in this block. Then he will say, you prove that your transaction in this block. Then I will give this, I will give this, I give this, I give this. Means I give transaction TX2, I give A, I give F. All three together will help you to get a Merkle tree. How? Because see, from here and here, from here I can get this, from these two I can get this, and already he can get, and he will combine this and he will get that root. Am I right? So verifiability is easy. Verifiability is easy. Any data exists in a Merkle root. For that we have to only give order of login of information. Okay, order of login of information. So tree hold many items, but just need to remember the root hash and can verify membership in order of login space and time. And so this kind of, so whatever data structure you have where pointers you are using, you can build the same data structure using hash pointer. Only catch is there should not be any cycle, because hash pointer keep hash of previous this one. So once you have a cycle, you cannot have that criteria satisfied. Okay. Now we'll be designing a cryptocurrency. So in cryptocurrency design, you should see what is happening. Who creates the coin? So in cryptocurrency, like in RBI, like in our fiat currency, who creates our note? RBI. How counterfeit currency is avoided? How actually fake currency is avoided in bank? Bank looks after that. There's a cashier, it looks after that. But in cryptocurrency, how you take care of fake currency and how you make transaction or transfer secure? Like I'm transferring money to B. How this is secure? That nobody else is forging that transaction. Okay. How you ensure the validity of transaction? Who owns this ledger now? In cryptocurrency, who owns the ledger? Who updates the ledger? Okay. All this information will be answered in design of cryptocurrency. But before that, I would like to recall one definition of digital signature. So what is digital signature? So in digital signature, so there's a message, there's a hashing algorithm. So hashing algorithm will give you hash value, and hash value there's a signature algorithm, and there's a private key. Based on that, a digital signature is generated, and the message and the digital signature is transferred. At the receiver side, the verifier, what it will do? Verifier, he will take your public key, he will take your message M and signature. If somehow he can verify based on this that this message was signed by someone who is having private key corresponding to this public key. So this is PU, public key. So in digital signature, what happens? In normal signature, what we do? We have a message, we put our signature in the bottom just to certify that he's the one, that he's sending this message. Authenticity. Okay, that okay, this message is coming from director. So how it is verified? In letter of director, I check that there is a signature of director. But in digital world, we cannot have that flexibility. So in digital world, what we do? We use hashing algorithm. We use a signature algorithm. Okay, so signature algorithm, we can use any elliptic or digital signature algorithm or public key, any signature algorithm we can use. And then based on that, I get a digital signature. This is signed. And at the receiving end, if somehow I can decrypt, so at the receiving end, what I will do? The message M I move with hash. Okay, I get hash of this message. Okay, hash of this message M dash, and then signature I decrypt with my public key. Okay, because it was encrypted with private key. And then whatever I get hash M1 dash prime, if both are same, means this message was signed by someone who is having private key corresponding to this public key. So this is the authentic. So apart from providing this authenticity and integrity, it also provides non-repudiation. Okay. Now we design the first cryptocurrency. This is called Goofy Coin. So what Goofy Coin does? So in Goofy Coin, so we'll start with, so all users, they are known by their public address. And they can authorize the transfer. And there are two rules in a Goofy Coin. So in a Goofy Coin, this is the Goofy is the person who can create new coin. So I told you, in our bank fiat currency, someone has to create a coin. Am I right? RBI generates a coin. So in our cryptocurrency, there is a notion of currency. So someone has to create new coin. Now here in our example, Goofy is the person who is creating this coin. So he creates a coin. All coin will have one unique ID. And he is creating a coin, and this coin belongs to Goofy. So what I am telling, RBI prints a note, and that note belongs to RBI. Likewise, here there is a Goofy. He is creating a coin, and that coin Goofy owns it. And Goofy is signing it. So Goofy, everybody knows that Goofy is the one who can create a coin. And how Goofy is known? Goofy is known by his public key. I know his public key, and private key he will keep secret with himself. So he will sign this coin. The coin he creates, he gives an ID, and he signs this coin. So this is the data structure. A coin looks like this way in our cryptocurrency. Now this, a coin which Goofy owns, he can give that coin to anyone. He can spend anywhere. So he can give it to Alice. So how he give? He give a string, pay to Alice. So Goofy is paying to Alice because he got some service from Alice, some Apple, some work he has done for Goofy. So he has written, I am paying to Alice, and the money which I am paying is hash pointer is this. It points to the money where it was actually coming from. Oh, so if you follow hash pointer, oh, so this is the coin which was created. It is signed by Goofy. I can verify from his public key. So he has signed this coin by private key. I can verify with his public key. So I'm giving, so Goofy is giving this coin to Alice, and it is signed by Goofy. I can check it. Oh, this is the coin that Alice is getting, and which coin he is getting? He is getting this coin. Okay, Goofy has created this coin, and this coin belongs to Goofy, and Goofy is signing it. Okay, good. Now Alice can give this money to Bob. So what he will say? Now Alice owns this money. Which money? Which Goofy created, and hash pointer is ahead. He has given this money to Bob. Now Bob is having this money, and Alice has signed. So Bob owns this money. So how Bob owns this money? Bob will show this data structure. So this data structure says that this is signed by Alice. Means Bob is owning money which was earlier held by Alice. Okay, where is that money? You follow the hash pointer. Okay, the money Alice got from Goofy. And which money? Okay, follow the hash pointer. Oh, the Goofy is the one who created the coin. He can create according to the rule of the game and he has signed it. Okay, fine. So see how actually cryptography using public key cryptography signing, money is changing hand. It is secure. Nobody can forge it. See, Goofy is owning, Goofy can only sign it. And you can check cryptography, public key cryptography, this is the signature, you can verify it. Now the problem with this is, it is not secure. He can do double spend. What is double spend? So I'm having this money, I'm having this money, Alice is having this money, he can give to Bob. So Bob will see, oh, he's giving money to me. And which money he's giving? The money which he got from Goofy. And from where he got, Goofy actually created. And he can give to Chuck also. The same money he is giving to two guys. This is called double spending attack. The same money which Alice owns, he has given to Bob, he has given to Chuck. Chuck can verify, oh, the money he's giving is this, and he got from Goofy. Bob can verify the money he's giving to this, and he is getting that money from here. So both part looks okay. Am I right? Both part look okay. Chuck will never get to know that this is a double spend. Am I right? Chuck will never know. But there's a double spend. This is a security issue with Goofy money. This is not good. So this is not a good cryptocurrency. In fact, this is not a cryptocurrency. So we'll see the second way of designing how the Scrooge coin take care of this double spending. What Scrooge coin will do? Scrooge coin will publish all transaction, all remote transaction, all transaction he will publish. He will publish in a ledger on a public forum, and head of the transaction, he will sign it. So what happens? Everybody can see what happened. So if Alice has given money to Bob, later on if he tries to give to Chuck, then Chuck can verify from the public ledger. It is posted. Oh, already he has given money, the same money with same sequence number to Bob. Then Chuck won't accept that transaction. So what happens? Scrooge here, there Goofy, here we have a Scrooge. Now what Scrooge is doing? Scrooge is publishing all transactions. So he's the one actually who creates a coin, and all transaction he is publishing onto a public ledger. So double spend attack is solved. So what is happening? So what Scrooge will do? All transaction he will post here. So Alice has given money to Bob, and Bob to Carol, and Carol to Dave. All transfer he's storing, and he's publishing on public ledger. And the hash of this head he will sign with this one. So anybody can verify, oh, if this is changed, then hash won't match because this is tamper evident lock. Remember, blockchain is tamper evident. This is signed by. Instead of having one transaction, we can have a collection of transaction in form of Merkle-Tree. All transaction I put here, and the root of this transaction I put here. Am I right? So for optimization, we can put n number of transaction in one node. Okay. Now in Scrooge coin, there are two operations that you can do. Two type of transaction. One is create coin transaction. So a create coin transaction, Scrooge is the one who can create a coin. He creates a coin of value 3.2, 1.4, and this, and these are the public address, public key of the recipient, And so in this kind of transaction, create coin transaction, new coins are created with serial number this. So this coin is known by coin ID 73 parent 0. This coin is known by 73 parent 1. This coin is known by 73 parent 2. So in Scrooge coin, the rule of the game says that new coins can be created by a Scrooge. He's the one who creates a coin, and this is the transaction. And this transaction he can write in the ledger that this is the coin I'm creating. Am I right? And he can distribute to different recipient, and how recipient are known here by their public key address. Another type of transaction is pay coin transaction. In pay coin transaction, so this is the transaction, these coins are consumed or destroyed. So the coin which recipient got 68 1 coin, 42 0 and 72 3, third coin is getting consumed in this transaction, and new coins are created. Means I am consuming. So if I am paying for a service, for a service, I am consuming these 3 coins. For example, you have a 100 rupee note, 50 rupee note with serial number, and 20 rupee note. All 3 you combine and give for a service to any vendor. Am I right? To a vegetable grocery, this one owner. Am I right? Likewise, in pay coin type of transaction, you can combine the coins which you have got in previous transaction, and you use here, and so this coin will be consumed, new coin will be created, and these are the recipient public key address, and these are the value. And here we put signature of, so 68.1, whoever is the owner of 68.1, he will put signature. 42.0, if all coin Alice owns, then Alice has to put signature. Okay, so this is valid only one if consumed coin is valid. So the coin which is consumed here is the first time you are consuming it. You should not double spend it. 68.1 already you have consumed somewhere, again now you are consuming. It should not be the case. And then and not already consumed, and total value of this input, so whatever coin is getting consumed and whatever coin that is getting created, both should be same. So what is happening here actually? So this is, we are designing a cryptocurrency. In cryptocurrency, the first step we saw that somehow Scrooge has to create a coin. So there's a transaction, he has to create a currency and he has to give you that currency so that you can exchange that currency for medium of exchange, as a medium of exchange. Am I right? And here we are paying that coin, this one. So the coins are immutable. Now what is the problem with this kind of system? Okay, there's no double spend. Why? Because all transactions I'm putting onto a ledger. Anybody can see that, and how actually the immutability is ensured, because the hash of entire blockchain is signed by Scrooge. You trust Scrooge, he is the central body, and then this is working fine. But the problem is Scrooge, he is the central body. Now like the bank, here you have a Scrooge. In this cryptocurrency, there is no double spend, but the problem is Scrooge. So Scrooge, at one day he say, now I won't write any transaction in ledger. He might not give service to, he's angry with Alice. He won't enter any Alice transaction. One day he might say, for all transaction, I need money. So this is the problem. How do we decentralize this? Now comes the Bitcoin. And we'll see how actually Bitcoin is designed. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency and one of the most successful implementation of a blockchain framework. So actually the Bitcoin came in 2008. In 2008, it was published. The paper was published by a gentleman called Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who he is. He's a group of people, or again there's a pseudonym. Nobody knows who Satoshi is, but he's considered to be the person who wrote maximum part of your blockchain code. Bitcoin code. Bitcoin client and Bitcoin core, everything he wrote. And the source code was available in 2009. And the first Genesis block was created on 3rd January 2009. And the paper was published before 2009. The paper was published by Satoshi in 2008. And this paper talks about how we can use peer-to-peer network to design a electronic cash system. Without any trust. So there is no third-party bank whom we are trusting. We don't trust anyone, but still the cryptography ensures the integrity of the ledger, and the ownership of the currency. Cryptography ensures. How? We'll see. And if you see the Bitcoin, yesterday I saw at on 13th I saw 6:14 p.m. the Bitcoin price. One Bitcoin was $19,391. And it's starting in one day from 18,400 to 19,300 in one day. And it is a 300 more plus billion market cap. Who is Satoshi? Nobody knows. So Bitcoin network, if you see, it is based on a peer-to-peer network. So in a client server framework, there is a server. I request for a service from a server and server gives you service. In clients, in peer-to-peer architecture, all are same. So at times everybody is server, everybody is client. Okay, they share their resource amongst each other to achieve certain goal, and there is no central administrative system. So Bitcoin network is peer-to-peer, and in Bitcoin network there are 4 kind of nodes. They are called wallet. Wallet is like whenever you are making any transaction, I will show you in Bitcoin transaction where wallet is used. Wallet is actually keep track of your private key, public key, and all transaction you initiate from wallet. Miner are the person who actually verifies your transaction and put onto those transactions he casts in the form of block and adds onto a blockchain. He appends to the blockchain. And there is a full blockchain node. So there are node who does this all mining, wallet and everything, and there's a network routing node. Okay, so there are reference client node, they do everything. They do wallet, they do miner, they are full blockchain, entire blockchain, all history of transaction he will keep, and he will also relay, he will also help in routing. Okay, and there are full node. So these are all theory, they are all theory. So Bitcoin network is composed of node. So all these node, so the ledger, the blockchain ledger, so the ledger which I am talking about is this ledger is shared among all node. So some node, they only keep header, they keep only header chain together, and some node keep entire of the blockchain history of the transaction. Okay, depending upon that, they are called full node or light node. Okay, these are all theory. Just for your information, I am telling this. So Bitcoin peer-to-peer network, it's an ad hoc protocol because there is no structure in that network, and it runs on TCP. It's a random topology, and how it works like this way. So what happens? So this animation is not running. I don't know why. So for example, if 8 comes, so there are certain called seed node. So first seed node is say 5, and he will request from 5, who are all your neighbor? He will say 1 and 7 is my neighbor. 1 and 7 is my neighbor. Then he will send request to 1 and 7. 1 and 7. Who are all your neighbor? He will say 2 and 3 is my neighbor, and 8, 6 is my neighbor. Now out of this 1, 6, 8, he will choose 2, 3, and he will make him his neighbor. Overlay network. You must have heard of overlay network. So on top of the physical network, these are his neighbor. So this is the way actually I join. So once I pop up, how do I join any peer-to-peer network? I boot up. I know certain seed nodes. Certain seed nodes, they are always on node. So in a Bitcoin client, Bitcoin framework, certain nodes are called seed node. They are maintained by Bitcoin.org foundation. They're always on. So you talk to that seed node and say, who are all your neighbor? He will say, oh, these are my neighbor. Then again, and these you communicate on TCP, on top of TCP. Okay. And then you get those neighbor information. And then this is the way actually you make your neighbor. Okay. So if any new transaction comes in, so someone mic is on, please mute your mic. So someone microphone is on, please mute your microphone. So if any,
Continue.
If any transaction is there, if any transaction comes at node 4 AB, so I don't know how this animation is not working here. Animation will work if it is in a full screen mode. So if I run in a full screen mode, let me try. Okay, from current slide, let me try. Okay, so this 8 has come. 8 will say get address. Let me clear this one over. So this is visible to you, am I right? He will say get address from 5. 5 will say, okay, 1 and 7 is my neighbor. And then he will talk to 1 and 7 and ask who are all your neighbor. And then he will say, these are my neighbor. And then he will connect to these. Okay. And how transaction is flooded. So if any transaction happens at node 4, so node 4 is a wallet is there. And I'm sending a money from A to B. This will be flooded to all node. So all node will have their memory pool, transaction pool, and he will keep this transaction in their transaction pool. And this is the way it is flooded. So once A to B transaction has been flooded, 7 won't flood again. Okay. And this is the way actually transaction is flooded. And so node may differ in transaction pool also. So you have initiated A to B. So A is sending money from A to B. The same A is sending money, the same money from A to C. So it could be inconsistent also, but eventually it is ensured that one will be retained, not both. Okay. Okay, so we'll see how actually it works. New transactions are broadcasted to all node following flooding and gossip protocol. Some node collects this all transaction. He will make block out of it and he will add block to the blockchain. Okay, and everybody will verify that transaction, that this is the money which is spent in this transaction is valid. He is the actual owner of that money and it is okay. Okay. Now here we have a notion of public key identity. So what is the identity in your Bitcoin? So identity is so in the Bitcoin, identity is this. Bitcoin identity is this. We have a pair of public key and private key. So public key is PKX and private key is SKX. So this is my identity. In Bitcoin, we don't have Rakesh, and there is no association between X and real world entity. There is no association. So that is why there is pseudo anonymous. Am I right? That I am known by this public key address, and private key I will keep secret with myself. Public key I will tell everyone. So everybody will know. If anybody wants to send money to me, he will send to my public key. No central authority. So what is there? I am known by my, what is my identity? My identity is my public key. Okay. And if I verify this, what this says? This says that a person who is having public key this is sending message this. Okay. Why this is true? Because message someone has put has given signature. He can give that signature with a private key corresponding to this public key. So I know that this person is having a private key corresponding to this public key because he can generate signature on this message. If this is true, then I can say that PK says this message. It can be verified. And I can create any number of identity. So in Bitcoin, you have a pseudonym. My address is hash of the public key. Hash of the public key, and the public key private key pair is used for putting signature. So the money I own, I can spend it. So money I own cryptographically, it can be secure, ensured. Oh, he is the one who owns that money. If I am transferring it, then I have to put my signature. See, I own it. I am transferring it to Bob, and I am putting my signature on this message. And once I put signature, then it is authentic. Am I right? So client wallet is made up of ECDSA, elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, and it works on that. So it looks like this way. If you see, the account number looks like this way, alphanumeric value. So this is the Bitcoin address, public address. If anyone wants to transfer money, he will transfer on this address. And this is the secret which you keep with yourself. You should never tell anyone your private key, because private key says signature is what you can make. Okay. So how actually Bitcoin address are generated? Bitcoin address are generated by this way. So I have a private key and then I generate a public key. Okay. How I, so in, and what Bitcoin elliptic curve digital signature algorithm it use. So in elliptic curve there is a graph like this way. I choose a point, any point G, and then on G I multiply this KG. So KG becomes public key and this K is my private key. This is what happens in Bitcoin elliptic curve digital signature. There's a curve.
Sir. Sorry to disturb, but sir, we are currently all the participants are seeing transaction propagation flooding slide.
Yes.
Is it right?
Oh my. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Oh. I thought like.
And sir, I think that if you are going for the animation now, then we have to move for the slideshow presentation. Then only we will be able to see the animation.
Okay. This public key identity you could see.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so earlier, I'm very sorry. I have taught you so much without. Okay, I will continue from public key identity. So this idea is clear to you. Since I have less time, so madam, I have 5-10 minutes extra, or there is a class at 12.
Yes, sir. You can take 5 minutes. No problem, sir.
5-10 minutes extra, I might
Yeah. No problem.
Okay. Thank you. So what I was telling is like in Bitcoin, this is my identity. My identity is this. Public key, private key pair is what I keep. It is ECDSA. So public key is my identity. I give to every word, and SK I keep secret with myself. And there's no association between this key pair and real world entity. You might be knowing in public key cryptography, I have a pair of private key and public key. And in digital signature, I encrypt with my private key and you decrypt with my public key. If you can decrypt with my public key, then message is coming from myself only, because that private key, public key pair can only encrypt, decrypt a meaningful message. So this is the public key which I am having. This is the private key. Okay. Why Bitcoin don't have any identity? Because there's no central authority. And what is the idea? Idea is this. Why my public key is my identity? Public key is my identity because if I'm having a public key message, I sign. And if this is true, what it says? It says I'm able to decrypt a message which was signed by someone who is having a private key corresponding to this public key and generate the signature say. If this is true, it says PK says message MSG. Okay. And I can generate any number of key. In Bitcoin, this address is hash of the public key and this is pseudo-anonymous. Why pseudo-anonymous? Because see, all transaction which I do with my public key address. and public key has nothing to do with my name. It has nothing to do with my name. Okay. So everybody knows my public key, not my name. See, this is what is known to outside world. I can create this public key, give to everyone. If you are having a Bitcoin wallet, he can transfer Bitcoin to you. And this is your private key. Private key is secret. With this, you sign your message. In order to prove that you are having a private key corresponding to this public key, this private key is used. Okay. This is similar to bank account number. Like you have in your SBI, your bank account number, but with know your customer, your ID has been mapped to your account number. Okay. Now, how actually your Bitcoin address is generated? Bitcoin address, you see how this Bitcoin address is generated. How this address is generated? It is in a string form. Okay. So what happens? I have a private key. So Bitcoin is based on elliptic curve distance signature, elliptic curve cryptography, ECC. In elliptic curve cryptography, there is a curve like this way, and there is a point called G. I don't know whether you know or not. G. I choose my private key to be K. Now KG will give me a point. KG will give me a point on this curve. This becomes a public key. KG becomes public key, and K is my private key. Okay, this is elliptic curve. Now on this public key, I do double hash. One is SHA 256 and the right MD 160. This is called public key hash. Public key hash. Now on this public key hash, I append 1 byte. It is a hexadecimal. 2 hexadecimal character is 8-bit. On this I do double hash. And whatever I get, the first 32 byte I append here. Now this I encode with base 58 encoding, and this gives you Bitcoin address. Don't get confused. It's a simple algorithm. From a public key, I am generating a Bitcoin address. And why I do trailer? Just for error detection. And you know, if this Bitcoin address, if money has been transferred, then it is transferred. You cannot recover it back. Okay, you cannot recover it back. So Bitcoin. So on this slide, I have shown you how from a private key you generate public key using elliptic curve cryptography, and then you generate a Bitcoin address. Okay. And second property of Bitcoin is this. It's a distributed ledger. It has a ledger but no bank. And the ledger is agreed upon and distributed among all stakeholders. And the ledger is the blockchain in this. So this is the ledger, and this is the way actually it works. Okay. Now, so you have how the ledger is maintained? So all transaction you have in one block. Okay. And the block size is fixed, say 25 megabyte or 1 megabyte. And then again you have a next block, and all transaction written here. Hash of this block will be written here, so that their hash counter is maintained. Hash of this block is written here, so hash counter is maintained. So it's called block of transaction. Okay, and we try to make sure that a new block are added every 10 minutes. We'll see why. And because of this ledger is distributed among all participants, there cannot be double spend. That Alice has said, okay, currency 1 with serial number 1, I am giving to public key B and signed by Alice and giving to Bob. Now this I am giving to Bob money is written on ledger. Okay, if Alice tries to give the same money to Bob, then from this ledger it can be verified. And Bitcoin does this. Because of this ledgering, double spending is solved. Now how Bitcoin transaction looks. So Bitcoin transaction is, see, if any transaction you see, what in your mind, how actually ledger is maintained. In your mind, how ledger is maintained? You have a account based this one. So how you maintain a ledger? I create a coin, and this is by miner has created a coin, say this one, and he has given to Alice. Now the second is Alice is transferring 17 coin to Bob and signing it. So whatever transaction is happening, we append it. In blockchain, we have a transaction in one block, all blockchain together. Here what we are doing? All transaction we append it in a log. What is the problem with this account-based ledger? So this is what we do in your account, in your diary, monthly expenditure. What you do? You write all your expenditure, all your transaction in diary. But the problem with this kind of thing is, like, how do I know that Alice is having 15 coin to transfer to David? I have to move backward. And see, wherever the Alice is beneficiary, Alice got the money minus Alice spent it. Am I right? I have to maintain this. So for every transaction to happen, I have to move backward and I have to check Alice is having sufficient fund or not. Or what we can do, we can have a special data structure where balance I maintain for every account. balance I maintain for every account. So there will be a lot of record keeping in this account based ledger, and this is not used in Bitcoin. What Bitcoin uses is this. It is based on transaction based ledger. Let me resume slideshow. If I resume slideshow, then again it might go. I don't know. Can you see the slide? Can you see the slide? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. We can view the slide.
What you can see the slide? What you can see?
Transaction based ledger.
A transaction based. Now we can see no. Can you see the animation?
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, I will get back. Wait. Again, I have to share it. 1 second. I am very sorry. लेकिन बिना animation के it won't be looking good.
Any kind of size or mechanic, most probably your object.
Now can you see? Now can you see?
Character.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I request कि someone mic is on and he's taking class or he's also speaking. Please. Okay. So in transaction based data, this is very important. The entire crux of Bitcoin is this only. So in transaction based ledger, what happens? There is a transaction. In every transaction, there is an input. There is an input and there is a output. In input, I have to say कि in this transaction, I am spending the coin which I have earned in previous transaction. So this is the reference to previous transaction where I got this money and I'm spending here. So this is the transaction where the system has given 25 Bitcoin to Alice. Now in this transaction, Alice is spending money which he got in transaction 1 and output 0, and he's spending it and giving 17 Bitcoin to Bob and 8 he's keeping the change with himself. Okay. In the transaction based system, in every transaction, the input where we are spending the money, we have to say from where I am spending this money. Okay. So for example, in this transaction, you see this transaction, Alice is spending money. What money he is spending? He is spending the money which he received in transaction 1 and the output was this. In this transaction, he was the beneficiary. So the money which he is spending is this, and where now he is spending? He is giving 17 to Bob and change he is keeping with himself. Now here Bob is spending money in this transaction of 2, transaction 2 and output 0. So this is of index 0, index 1. In computer science, we start with index 0, 1. Am I right? So he is spending the index 0 and Bob is spending money which he got in transaction 2, index 0. He is giving 8 to Carol and 9 to Bob. So in a transaction based ledger, it is very easy to, in a transaction, I have to see in every transaction the input from where I got this money and where I am spending this and to whom I am giving this money to. In this one I have to do this. Am I right? Now here 2-1, how do I make sure that 2-1 was not earlier spent? So where 2-1 I got here. 2-1 I got here. From here to here, I check nowhere 2-1 should have been spent in input. Then I can verify that I'm not doing double spending. So I can do this. And hash pointer will keep track of this. So hash pointer will keep track of this location 2-1. Am I right? Hash pointer. We implement with hash pointer and we can merge value. We can merge these two values. I can say, okay, I am spending this one. Bob is having these two money. Bob is having this, and in input I am having these two, and I am merging for Bob and signed by Bob. So this is the transaction. Why Bob is signing? Because Bob is owning these two money, and I can have joint payment. So Carol and Bob. Carol got with 2-0, Bob got with 2-1, and they are transferring 8 Bitcoin to David, and it is signed by both Carol and Bob both. This is called transaction based system. Now blockchain transaction, it also contains complete history of transaction and also maintains UTX, unspent transaction output. Like what are the transactions that has not been spent yet? So sender broadcast transaction to nearby miner, miner relay the transaction to more miner, and then everybody is having a transaction pool, and this miner will carve certain transaction and make a block out of those transactions. And if you see how transaction happens in a Bitcoin network, the same thing happens, but there is a Bitcoin peer-to-peer network. So whenever there is a payment request, you authorize yourself, then you say okay, payment. Once payment is done, then WhatsApp, using your wallet app, you do transaction with Bitcoin peer-to-peer network, and then the payment acknowledgement comes, and then all transaction will be returned onto your blockchain. Whatever money you have given, it will be maintained here. It will be maintained here. Okay, and merchant will confirm from this. Merchant will confirm from this transaction. How Bitcoin transaction looks like? It looks like this way. That Bitcoin exists in form of software, and the transaction is conducted through wallet. And how wallet looks like? Wallet looks like this way. So if I want to transfer money, then so this is the address I want to transfer. Then this is the Bitcoin from my wallet to this address. So this is the address I write here. And then this is the Bitcoin I give. It gets converted to US dollar, and then I say continue, then money is transferred. Now you have a UTXO model. So transaction, if you see the basic concept of a transaction, I have told you that in Bitcoin transaction, each transaction will have a transaction ID, hash of that transaction, and there's an input. I have to specify that the input I'm getting from X and I'm giving to A, B, and there's a transaction fee. So the input minus this output is transaction fee. This transaction fee is what is given to the miner who is involved in writing this onto a blockchain. What happens? How transferring Bitcoin happens? So in every transaction, you have to specify. We have to specify X. So I'm spending X. From where I got X? X will be reference to previous transaction. So on previous transaction, I got this money which I'm spending here. This money I'm giving A 0.2 and 3.18 to B, and the difference of this minus this will be the transaction fee. Okay, this is how actually the Bitcoin is transferred in this one. And the real Bitcoin transaction, if you see, it looks like this way. So you have a hash of the this is the hash of the transaction, and in transaction this is the metadata. Metadata says, so the slides are visible to you. Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes,
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So in a transaction, we have to specify there are two number of input. So in this transaction, two input we are consuming and one output we are having, means two coin will be spent. So here I am making, so here in input, the reference to the transaction I am making. So in this transaction, previous transaction, whatever was in index 0, I am consuming it. In this transaction, whatever was in index 0, I am consuming it, and the money is going to the person with output hash this, output hash this. Here we are writing script. We do not say, here we don't say that you send money, we send money output to this public key address. I don't say this, I give it script. Here comes the flexibility, here comes the beauty. All blockchain, the strength comes from here, script. I don't say that the money I have to send to this public key. I say the money I am sending to is this challenge script. Whoever who can solve the challenge script can spend this money. So if anyone who is spending this money, he has to solve this. So see, here in input, if you see, here in input, he is giving the response. So if you have to spend this money, this transaction output, a challenge was given, and against that challenge, this is your response. And this response should be valid. We'll check how this response is valid. Likewise, I'm giving this money, 10.122 Bitcoin, to someone who can solve this challenge script. So if someone who is using this 10 Bitcoin, he has to solve this challenge and he has to give response in this form, the way he is giving response. You got a point? It will be clear to you. There's one example. Don't worry. So you have a metadata. It's a version. So it has two input. There's a reference to previous transaction, two input transaction, and this is one output. This is the log time, and this is the size of the transaction. This is for housekeeping, and this is the input we are doing. Previous transaction reference we are making to this at index this, and this is the response. Okay, this is the signature and the response, and this money output goes this much to who? To a person who can solve this challenge. Okay, if this person has to consume this, then he has to give like this way a response. And what is that response? We'll see that. Now, all Bitcoin script is written using a language called Forth. Using a language called Forth. Okay. Using a language called Forth. So what is Forth? So Forth is a scripting language, and it is similar to Forth, but it is not actually. The scripting language in Bitcoin is called Script, and this script is used to write this challenge script. This challenge script. This is written in this one. It is stack-based language. What is stack-based language? In stack-based language, we have instruction of the form data. Either there will be data or there will be opcode. There will be opcode. All instruction will be of this form. If there is opcode, then whatever is the content of the stack, top of the stack, I perform that operation. If operation is binary operation, then I pop 2 elements from the stack. I perform that operation. Whatever is the output, I write back onto the stack. So script is a stack-based language. Stack-based language. There is no loop. There is no loop. So you write simple program. Line by line, you write simple program. And then also, it is limited in time and memory. And it is not Turing complete. Why Turing complete? So we say any language to be a Turing complete. Once I can write whatever I can think, whatever I can do mechanically, I should be able to code in program. Then if that language helps you to write that program, then that language is Turing complete. Okay. So Turing complete language, any complex function you can think of which machine can do, you can write code for that, then it becomes Turing complete. So he is Alan Turing. He is Alan Turing, and he is not impressed because script language is not Turing complete. So the beauty of this script language is it supports cryptography. So there are specialized instructions where in one operation hash can be done, hashing can be done, signature can be generated, signature can be generated, signature can be verified, signature can be verified. So there are specialized instruction in this scripting language where we can have this instruction. Okay. So these are the instruction. These are the specialized instruction. Okay. So this is an opcode, op duplicate. Op duplicate, this is an opcode. What it does, whatever is in the top of the stack, it will duplicate it. Op hash 160, what it will do, it will take, these are all opcode, these are all opcode. All instruction in stack-based programming language, script language can be either data. If it is data, you push onto stack. If it is operation, then you perform operation onto that stack data. So if it is op duplicate, you pop the topmost element and you duplicate it. If it is hash 160, then I double hash it, and then I take the topmost element, I hash it, and then I put the result back onto the stack. Op equal verify. I take top 2 elements from the stack and check if these two are equal, then I push true onto the stack. Op check signature. Op check signature verifies the signature. Okay, multi-signature. So Bitcoin instructions, there are 256 opcode. Opcode are arithmetic, if then, loop, logic, and data handling for hashes and for these things. Now let us take an example of your fiat money transfer. How actually fiat money transfer takes place. So fiat money transfer takes place like this way. See, if Alice is buying a birthday gift to Bob. So somehow Alice got $40 from some input, either his father gave $40, and then transfer of B is written like this way, input. So in transaction A at index 1, whatever I have is 40, and whom I am giving? I am giving Bob $20, Alice $20. Okay. Now Bob can transfer. This is what happens. Actually, you have a $40, you give $20, $20. And if your Bob is having a coffee, then how it is maintained? So in transaction B at index 1, this is the index 1. I'm spending the money, and the output I'm giving Charlie $4 and Alice $16. This is the fiat money transfer. If you see these days how fiat actually changes hand, and if you want to log these things in your log book, this is the way actually you should log. But this is not the way actually you log. You say you only spend. You don't say from where you got. You only spend. You don't say from where you got. Am I right? Now how Bitcoin transaction works. So this is very important slide. Okay. So the slide is visible. Am I right? Slide is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
So in Bitcoin transaction, what happens is like this. So Alice will have their wallet. So in wallet, of a Alice will have their private key. From private key we have a public key and public key hash, and from public key hash we have a Bitcoin address here. Please mute your mic, please. I request you, please. Okay. So this is the wallet Alice is having, this is the wallet Bob is having, this is the wallet Charlie is having. Okay, and their wallet have this private key and public key hash and Bitcoin address. Now, if transfer ABC, now Alice is transferring some money to Bob. If there is a Bitcoin transfer, then under the hood, how things are working is this. Now it says in the field of address, so Alice is transferring money to Bob. So in the address field, he will write, I am transferring money to Bitcoin address of B. Where is the Bitcoin address of B? This is the Bitcoin address of B. Bitcoin address of B. It says, this is what you type in your wallet. While transferring money, I have shown you the Bitcoin address you type. So I am transferring money to this Bitcoin address. Okay, let me change its color. Let us make it red. So the money and address I am transferring is this Bitcoin address, means this is the Bob Bitcoin address. Amount is 40 Bitcoin I am sending, and this is my challenge script. Challenge script is op duplicate, op hash 160, public key hash. And now here I am writing the public key hash of Bob. Public key hash of Bob. And then on. So this is the script. This is the script, challenge script. Now Bob can spend this money. Now Bob is spending this money. He is making reference. Now Bob is spending money for coffee, and what money he is spending? He is spending in transaction ABC. In transaction ABC, this is the transaction ABC at index 1, at index 1, at index 1. The money which I get, this is the response. I have the capability, I have the ability. So this is the challenge. This is the challenge. And this is the response he is giving. And what response he is giving? He will give a signature. And how he computes signature? On this much part, on this, let me change the color. On this much part, he does SHA-256, encrypt using his private key. See, his private key. He encrypts using his private key. And you get a signature. You get a signature. You put this signature here. You put the signature here. And you put your public key of B here. Public key of B here. This is your response. This is your response. So if this is correct, then if you are the actual owner of this public key, then your public key will hash to this. Your public key will hash to this public key hash, and you will be able to generate a signature corresponding to this public key, and this signature will be verified. And we'll see in action. Don't worry, don't worry. What I'm telling, see this. What I'm telling is this. If you have to transfer money, see, this is the challenge. Alice says this money, this $40 can be spent by someone who is accepting, who gives suitable response to this challenge. So this is the challenge, this is the challenge, and this is the response. So Bob, if he wish to spend this $40, he has to give this response. He has to give this response. And if this response is correct, and how he generates this response, this is the idea. How he generates this response? He generates this response like this way. He generates a signature out of this. Out of this, he generates a signature by this process, and he writes here. And he writes his public key here. And it is his response. And now I will say, if this is the correct, this one, Bob, then he will be able to spend it. How? Let us see. See what I'm telling you. In response, Bob has given his signature and his public key. In challenge, what was given? Op duplicate, op hash 160, public key hash B, op equal verify, op check say. So this was given. So in order to verify a transaction, these two, and who verifies? A miner. Miner will verify a transaction. These two are combined together and executed onto a stack-based language. What I said in a stack-based language, stack-based execution. If there is any data, it will be pushed onto the stack. If there is an opcode, then operation is performed onto that stack data. Am I right? Okay, let's see. Now signature, I see a signature, I push it. Then I see public key of the response of Bob, public key of response of Bob. Now I see a method. So this is the stack, how stack is behaving. I see a opcode of duplicate 2. So in third operation, of duplicate 2 is a opcode, is a method function that will pop the top element and duplicate it. So this public key is duplicated. Am I right? Public key which in response Bob has given. Am I right? Now I use op hash. I pop the topmost public key and I hash it. After the fourth operation, this public key hash is generated out of this public key. Am I right? Now this public key hash of the recipient. This is the challenge given by Alice. Alice says this $40 can be spent by someone whose public key hash is this. So public key hash, I copy it. Now op equal verify. If these two matches, what it says? Yes, Bob has given correct public key and his public key hash is same as what in challenge Bob has given. So he is having the correct public key. Now in order to show, see anybody can get public key. In order to show that you are having private key corresponding to that public key, you have to verify your signature also has to be verified. Now given public key, your signature will be verified. How? See, verifier will have this public key, your public key, this, and message he will get from here. This is the message. This is the message he get from the transaction, and this signature. And if this is true, then it is fine. So Bob is actually spending the money. Okay. So this is how actually what happens. So this is your signature, this is your public key, and this is how these two are combined together. This is called script sig. This is called script public key. Okay. And so in order to verify, we concatenate these two, this one, and if this executes without any error. So how it works? First there is a signature, then there is a public key. It is appended onto a stack, and then op duplicate, you duplicate public key. Then op hash 160 I do. Now I push this from the challenge. Public key hash is, if these two are same from Alice, if it is same, that is, and then we verify this one. If any one of you want me to repeat it, please tell me, I will again repeat it. This is very important. No one? Okay. We are skipping. So Bitcoin is used for escrow transaction, that in presence of two party, how you ensure trust. So you can do a number of things out of this, but let us skip this one. We'll do how the consensus take place. Okay. So a transaction, if you see a simple blockchain.info. So this is an explorer. This is an explorer of Bitcoin. It says, okay, this is what it says. It says this is the transaction. This is the transaction. And the transaction ID is this. In this transaction, the input reference to the transaction is this. Input reference transaction is this. This many Bitcoin I'm sending to this Bitcoin address and this Bitcoin address. Okay. This is the Bitcoin address. I am giving this much money to him, this much money to him. Okay. This the transaction looks like actually in. And blockchain.com is a website which helps you do all this blockchain. You can explore it in simple graphical user interface. You can see what are the transactions, what are the blocks, and say it looks like this. So this is the transaction ID. This is the transaction ID. This is the input address from blockchain. This is the output blockchain address, output Bitcoin address, and this is the this one block information. Okay. Same things are here. Now Bitcoin consensus. Why consensus is important? How actually a miner? So miner is the person who actually clubs all these transactions and writes onto the blockchain. So who is Alice? So what happens? Say for example, Alice is sending money to Bob and he is having a pointer to a transaction where he was the recipient of this money, and Alice is signing it and he floods onto this peer-to-peer network. Now who are all miners? Miners store the ledger and they relay this transaction. They verify transaction. So if I get any transaction, then he will be doing this verification. The verification I told you, this verification. The verification I told you, this verification, wait, this verification. This verification, there is a transaction. Am I right? For this transaction, okay, he will, for this transaction to happen, this is the input, this is the output, this is the transaction. He verifies this. How he verifies? He verifies from your response and the challenge from previous transaction. He executes. If it is true, then transaction is okay. So you are the actual owner of this that money. Okay. Nobody can forge your money. Am I right? Because in order to use your money, I need to know your private key. Unless until I know your private key, I cannot generate your signature. Am I right? So this is the miner. They verify the transaction. They participate in concession. Why would anyone choose to do this? Because why I participate in miner? See, miners are rewarded for this. So if miners are doing this mining, so what is happening? I will give you an example. All transactions are flooded. Everybody is having a pool of transactions. Out of those transactions, they choose a transaction that has to be carved out for a block. They generate a block and then append to the blockchain. So what happens? Bitcoin concession works better in practice than in theory. Actual Bitcoin header, if you see, it looks like this way. So there is a hash of the previous block. There's a timestamp, difficulty target, there's a nonce, and there is Merkle tree. And these are all transactions. All transactions are here. All transactions are here. And using this transaction, you have this Merkle tree root hash, and this is what you write here. Okay. Why bundle transaction together? Just for optimization. Because or else chain will be very large if you put in one block one transaction. Now, what is proof of work? Proof of work says that if I have this string, what X I should append, so that I get a hash that starts with 30. That starts with 30 and then last may some number. So that starts with 30. This is your. So you need to perform certain computation. What X I append, so that the output is in this range. Okay. So in worst case, there are 32 chances because 2 to the power 5, 32. And what is your favorable? Favorable is 2 to the power 3. 8 by 32, 1 by 4. 1 by 4 is the chance that you will be getting this 30. So at least you have to try in worst case 8 times to get a hash that starts with 30. This is called proof of work concept. This is called proof. And what happens in every transaction? The miner who is having this pool of transaction, once he is making a block.
Hello, sir. Sorry to disturb you. Actually, can we end our session at 11:55?
Okay. Means now itself.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll finish. You give me 2 minutes.
No. We will make some questionnaires. If anything question from a participant, they can ask you.
Okay. Last slide I will do how things are working in animation.
Yeah.
See, this is a miner. Okay, this is a miner, and these are all transactions he is having. So he will collect all these transactions and he will make a block out of this. How he make block? How? So he's a miner. So Alice, John, they are having this transaction pool which is flooded. Out of this transaction, he will make a block. He pack all transactions. How he makes a block? Like this way. He will take a previous block. So in order to make this block, which is extending this blockchain. So this was already there in the blockchain. In order to extend this block, I have this previous block hash here. Hash of all transaction in this block here, and I find a nonce. So that all hash of this, double hash of this is less than this target difficulty. Whoever solves this puzzle first, he will be rewarded this Bitcoin, and he can append that block into this blockchain. So this miner, so these are all the outstanding transactions. So this miner J could solve this transaction that starts with this many hash. So he can append this block. He can append this block here, and he floods to every all miner. See, I have added on this blockchain, new block has been added. He floods to everyone. So everybody will, now he will upload, he will extend block from block 4. If miner K wants to add a block, then he will add from block 4 onward. So there's the longest chain rule. So if this block is added, now if someone else has to add a block into this blockchain, from block 4 onward it will be appended. So blockchain working principle is there are transactions, there are miner cast a block out of this transaction and they solve. In order to write a block onto blockchain, they have to solve a puzzle. Whoever solves that puzzle first, he will be rewarded with Bitcoin, certain number of Bitcoin, and then this is called proof of work. And once he found a block, he will flood that block to everyone so that they can append in their blockchain. They can append in their blockchain. The newly found block will be appended into the blockchain, and then for new transaction again new block is found and it is appended. Okay, if you have any question you can ask. Somehow I have completed.
Thank you,
And
sir.
I took 5 minutes early. I was asking 10 minutes extra and now you asked me 5 minutes. Okay, anyways, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any participant, if you want to questions, you can mute yourself and you can ask question to sir. Any question from participant side?
The remaining, the image segmentation, image renalizing. So all this.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah.
Sir, in what today's scenario the Bitcoins are used in our India?
See, Bitcoin actually in India, as a research, government agency, they are not using Bitcoin. They have not. But if you can have Bitcoin, you can have your Bitcoin wallet. You can pay money. There are exchange that you pay Indian rupee, you get Bitcoin. There are exchange, and using that Bitcoin you can do transaction. But we don't need much Bitcoin. You can have Bitcoin in your wallet as an investment because price is rising too much. 2-3 years back when we started, I saw there was $7,000, and then you can use it for this one. But rest for normal transaction, we don't use Bitcoin. But many Dell, HP, they accept Bitcoin as a exchange medium of exchange. But not in our country. Because government of India, they are supporting blockchain framework. In research, you can use blockchain to establish single source of truth and for asset transfer. But Bitcoin as such in Indian context, people are not using much. I don't see any this one. Because if Bitcoin comes, then what RBI will do? Government agency, how they will print money? Because in Bitcoin, you have seen everything is transparent and it has to be regulated. In our India, how Bitcoin rupees are published, I don't know how they are printing, what is the algorithm they do. But in Indian context, Bitcoin is not that much of value, but blockchain framework as such is very important. So somebody might teach blockchain to you this time. So you see, blockchain is good for research perspective. You can give blockchain based framework in 5G, massive machine communication, IoT, and there you can do.
And sir, one more question. What are the ways to purchase the Bitcoins?
You can have Bitcoin wallet. You type simple Bitcoin wallet. So Bitcoin wallet, there are forums. You can have your Bitcoin wallet. Through Bitcoin wallet, you register and then you can get free Bitcoin also. But you have to do certain activity. You have to join certain forum. You have to do their advertisement in your Facebook. You get 0.0001 Bitcoin. So you type on Google how to get free Bitcoin. You will get all steps. And whatever step it says, you can have your wallet. You can have certain Bitcoin. And time is not much. I have my Bitcoin and I have very less this one. Just for class, I have this. Okay.
So can you share your phone number and email ID for more question answering?
I will give it to madam. You can type NIT Raipur, Rakesh Tripathi, NIT Raipur. My phone number is there on website and email address is also there.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Anything more question from participant side? Anything questions? Okay, fine. I hope participant enjoy the session. Yes. I hope participant enjoy the session. Now I conclude the session. I am very much grateful for sir this very informative session. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
This session is very outcome based session. You explain very good concept of Bitcoin, how blockchain working. Really, thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank
very
you,
much.
madam. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.
Now there is a short break of 10 minutes. Next session will start at 12:50. Thank you.